Hey, everybody.
Hi, y'all. You're listening to the Music Nerds Collaborative. I am Amy Rock. I'm sitting in my car because just 10 minutes ago, the power went out at my apartment and the fire alarm is going off. So I'm coming to you live from my car with three of my favorite music nerds in the world. We got Andrew William Smith, the teacher on the radio from Cookeville, Tennessee. And Joji from New York. And these guys are going to help me talk about Eurovision. I wanted to challenge these guys to talk about something that maybe will push them out of their comfort zone and listen to some songs that they hadn't experienced before. And secret reason, I was going over to my friend's house to go watch it this last weekend and knew that it would be top of my mind today. So it's just something that I'm kind of excited about and ready to get you guys excited about. Eurovision is a cultural institution. It's been going on since the 50s. There's so much to it. There's not much. We don't have time for me to get into the intricacies. There's rules and 50 years of good and bad songs we could talk about. But today, I just want to talk about the songs that came out this year and just get you guys stoked on that and just see how fun it is to follow Eurovision and listen to these songs. With that said, I have to pause here and be super serious for just a second. Eurovision is political. A couple years ago when Russia invaded Ukraine, they were excluded from the competition and Ukraine ended up winning that year. There's politics in it. And when Israel was added to the competition in the 70s, it was controversial then. And as you can imagine, in the last few years, it has been an extremely controversial thing that Israel is a participant in Eurovision. So the thing is, there is a significant voting contingent of fans and viewers of Eurovision that are in support of Israel and they vote for them. But there's another very large contingent who are fans of Eurovision that think that Israel should not be part of the competition, especially now. So I just want to put that out there. Free Palestine. The song Israel put in was bad anyways, and I don't want to talk about it, even though it got enough votes to be in second place. So that to the side. Let's talk about Eurovision. I got one paragraph, and then I'm going to let you guys talk about what you guys think of it and what your background is. It's an annual song competition. There's some 40 countries that participate from all across Europe. They send one artist with one song. There's some preliminary performances. The rules about the voting are a little complicated, too complicated for today, but just so you know, half the votes come from a panel of voters representing each country, and then the rest is proportional of just people at home voting from their phones for their country. We're here to talk about the music, and what I love about it is that the songs come from different genres. They're usually somewhere between Europop, that's maybe what you come to think of, but there's also really beautiful ballads with impressive vocal performances. And there's some really silly vocal, novelty songs mixed in that are just there to be goofs, just there to be fun, because it happens every year and it doesn't matter. And it's just silly and fun. And those are my favorite. But what's really cool is the performances. The performers have to sing the songs live to backing tracks. And the productions of these broadcasts are just so impressive. The stage show has 30 seconds to turn the stage between each performer, and just anything that a pop star would love to have on their stage, this show has it, and it's great. Okay, I just want to hear what you guys thought of getting into this, what you experienced before, and what you think now. Anyone want to go first? And if you have any questions, I'm here to try to answer them too.
I think Joe did the most homework, so he should get to go first.
Please.
And Joe always has to remember to unmute himself. And everybody, this is the Music Nerds Record Club if you're just tuning in on the internet, and we are a monthly informal podcast by a bunch of super fans of all kinds of music. And we come from all over the United States. Some of us are based in Middle Tennessee, and some of us are all over the rest of the world. And Amy Rock is the only non-Gen X dude on this particular episode. And also, Scott and Joe and I have known each other since the mid 1980s up in Detroit, Michigan.
Southfield represent.
And if you had telegraphed us through your time machine portal, Amy, that we'd be on a podcast talking about Eurovision in 2025, I would not have believed you in 1985. So there's that. I'm sorry, Joe. Take it away now that you're unmuted, Joe.
Thank you. I don't know if I did the most homework, but I listened to a lot of it. I might have listened to the whole playlist with some of them for a couple of days. I was turning it on, and it was on shuffle, so it wasn't really, I wasn't really able to keep track of some of it, and that makes sense because a lot of it to me sounded the same. It's interesting that this is a form of European music that's so untouched by an American music informed by Black music. I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's just an observation.
Right,
it's
right.
totally devoid of the influence of African Americans on popular music. Like here, it's in America, it's unavoidable. Everything's built on that. I found that interesting, and what felt so alien to me about a lot of the music, I think, that it was very little of it had anything to do with American tastes. It was this is my impression. I'm not, it didn't have anything to do with American tastes. There's a whole world of other popular music that exists wholly independent of what we do. And, there's probably a subculture of people there who follow it like we follow, indie accordion bands from Iowa, or whatever. It's a subgenre here, something that's pretty huge or prevalent.
Accordion core.
And I found a lot of songs that I liked, and a lot of songs that I found reasons to like for different reasons, like the Maltese song I thought was kind of fun. And seeing the video, I did find her very attractive. that helped. But I heard the song first. The Lithuanian song, that was the most Western American. It was like in that Radiohead shoegaze. It didn't have that Europop stuff and that kind of struck me. But I love the Swedish song.
Yeah.
Sauna. That was awesome.
Yeah, let's put a pin in your favorite ones right now. I want to hear immediate impressions from the other guys, and then we can talk specifically about the songs that we liked.
Okay. I got a lot of notes. So the two pieces of homework I did is I listened to the playlist of like all the contestants before it got whittled down to the grand finale.
Right.
And then I watched as much as I could of the grand finale. It's like I got like 2.5 hours in, and I'm like, wait a minute, they got to everybody. How are they going to kill the next hour and a half?
Ooh.
And I'm wondering, like, who are the hosts? And even the hosts were kind of just, everything about it was great, but the hosts are just like, I don't know who they are, and I think they're supposed to be funny, but I'm not quite laughing, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the hosts, she's like specifically from Switzerland, and that's just her whole vibe.
Right.
Just being very straight faced.
And I kind of dug the whole, that little comedic video about, Switzerland is known for all these different things.
Yeah.
Which has kind of gone viral. But I took notes from when I was listening to that playlist, and first thing that popped out at me were the influences. And like the first one, super obvious, was the most famous Eurovision winner of all time, ABBA. Plus,
Yeah.
you know, it was just, there was like a heavy Broadway influence. There's like Andrew Lloyd Webber, Jim Steinman, if you're fans of Meatloaf, you know, that drama. There's a lot of EDM influence. And I was thinking about descriptors, and 4 words came to mind: operatic, dramatic, theatrical, diverse. I'm also noticing that there was a lot of out of left field style or tempo changes, which I really liked. I'm like, to me, this was kind of like, it was like listening to alien pop, and I mean that in the best sense, because there were parts of it that sounded like the pop music here, but it's like it took strange diversions and strange curves, and I like that. And there was a lot of cultural mashups. There was like, and I'm paraphrasing here because I can't. There was so much music I can't remember it all, but it felt like there was like maybe a band from Lithuania that sounded like, okay, good example, the Latvian band, and I dug them. I dug the Latvian act. Oh man, we lost Amy, but I dug the Latvian act, and I felt like they had a strong African rhythm going on. I'll go ahead and list some of my favorites until Amy comes back to shoo me away, or should we wait for her?
We can gab on. We should soldier on. And
I would say I'm with Joe. I love the performer from Malta. I'm like, not only was she charismatic and she had a lot of sex appeal, but the song was a banger. And I liked UK. I liked Spain, Austria, Latvia, Netherlands, Finland, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and Albania.
Albania.
And every time I think of Albania, I think about that one episode of Cheers. Albania, Albania, you border on the Adriatic. There she is. Amy, should I repeat myself?
Nah, I'll go back and listen later.
I felt badly that you missed so much of my babbling, but you know what? I will just say that it was a really cool experience. It just, I don't know if this is something I would do on my own, so thanks for getting me out of my comfort zone. I will say this, right before we went on, I Googled famous Eurovision winners, and I'm like, everybody knows ABBA, but I didn't realize Katrina and the Waves won a good 12 years after they scored with Walking on Sunshine. You know, Måneskin, Olivia Newton-John. There was a couple of others, Celine Dion. So it is a fascinating culture.
Well, we are having technical difficulties over here in Music Nerds Podcast Land. Our curator and host for tonight's episode, the amazing Amy Rock, is having connection issues as she's trying to use her cell phone.
I heard her.
Oh. Yeah, she's freezing up. She's disappearing. Trying to use her cell. Imagine Eurovision without the technology. I am overwhelmed by what
there she is.
A spectacle it is. It's a total spectacle. I can't admit how much out of my league that I am. I mean, I'm so out of my league. Joe, I really appreciated your comment, because actually that was something that I was thinking about sharing in the second half about what, has tickled us since the last episode, as we are wont to do. And I have been obsessed with the Ryan Coogler film Sinners, and I just feel like the blues that African American experience through enslavement, through being stolen from their homeland to the United States, and then through the long arc of liberation, which is unfinished, the great music that's come, and then of course all of the mashups and hybrids. I think that's kind of something that I got from this is that it is a mashup. It is a hybrid. So I listened to the winning song today, and something that struck me about it was how like operatic or choral it is. Like, and it reminds me, and I don't remember, I think this was a 90s thing. Was it a 90s thing where people would like were incorporating like Gregorian chants and choral music into like pop and techno music? That's the thing that their Eurovision reminds me of, is like going to the club in the 90s, which I didn't do very often, maybe a couple of times in the early 90s, and the bringing in like samples of like, you know, the whole Gregorian chant techno pop thing seems to have resonated for me. But I was trying to figure it out. I still haven't figured it out. And so I do, as we do sometimes, and I was looking up stuff on, you know, Reddit and YouTube and listening to other people's podcasts about this topic. And there was this one person who literally is like some kind of like a vocal coach, a professional, like vocal, like a singing expert. And she literally was just like analyzing the vocals. Amy's going to try from inside her house now. Maybe they got power back on. The person was analyzing like the pitch and like what this guy did with his voice. And something else that I noticed too when I went over to Reddit was I found this Reddit community to talk about Eurovision, and one of the first things in it was the moderator listing all the rules for how to talk with other people on the internet. And I thought it was interesting because it's been a long time since I've seen. I mean, I see that every time I join a Facebook group, they'll like say, you agree not to be a jerk, you agree to be, you know, civil, whatever. But apparently these Eurovision like Reddit groups get pretty hot because like the mods were like, you know, be nice, you know, there's a human behind the screen. And so like how like totally like completely passionate, the people who get into Eurovision. And the thing that this made me think of, Joe, was this made me think of like Americans who follow European soccer. Like that this is kind of like that kind of a like, you know, the people, okay, you know, like I'm, you know, like Liverpool or Manchester, you know, like these Americans who follow. Amy, did your power come back on?
Nope, but hopefully I'll have a better connection here instead of the parking garage. Hey, the power just came back on!
Look what you did!
Yay!
Amy brings the light.
So, Amy, I was just starting to say that Americans that really get into Eurovision remind me of Americans who get really into European soccer, especially like British Premier League soccer. Like, and I was talking about how when I went on Reddit to try to see what was going on over there, I found a Reddit group where all they were talking about was Eurovision and nothing else, and how the mods had to wield a heavy hand to remind everybody to be nice and to be civil and everything.
I think that Reddit is usually good vibes the rest of the year, but like during the week of Eurovision, it gets rowdy.
So I wanted to show this, and I'm glad you're back with us. So I was at a fanzine convention on Saturday, and this is just like part of my stack of fanzines that I collected. But this one woman makes really kind of, I don't want to be, they're really joyfully primitive fanzines, like scrapbook type fanzines, all about music. And the person, I think they're a millennial, they might be a zillennial, they might be a zoomer, but like you can see there's not like, it's more pictures and like captions. It's not like in my music fanzines, they're like my blogs. They're like, you know, a lot of words. Okay. A lot of big words. Okay. But this is an adorable Eurovision fanzine. And I saw this as a sign. And so I think for something like this, it's like people who live blog the Olympics or whatever. There just seems to be a coalescing of community and fervor and enthusiasm around it that's kind of adorable. I am, as I said at the beginning, right when you got bumped off, I am so outside my league. I mean, I am so, and I listened to enough of it to know that it was good. I'm repeating myself now a little bit for you, but one video I found was really interesting. It was this woman, and all she was doing was like critiquing the technique like the vocal technique of the winner and getting really granular using all these apparently terms you learn in choirs. If you go to like get a grad degree in choir performance, you would learn these terms. But she was like nerding. We think we're nerds. We are not nerds. This lady was nerding the frick out about like the winner's vocal modules or whatever. I don't even.
Yeah.
I'm making shit up as I go along.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're glad you're back, Amy. We made it
Thank
through
you.
your first round with the
Thank you.
old man here.
It's no wonder that Austria won because nobody else had the vocal range he had.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that performance. It's an artist called JJ who is Austrian and his family is Filipino and just sings in this insane like soprano voice. And this song is just so I find it really beautiful, and I think it's super cool that the last 30 seconds turns into like a techno break. One critique would be, wish there was more techno.
Right.
But very cool song. What did Andrew or Joe, what were your impressions of this song?
I thought I wasn't sure of his gender.
Yeah.
Because of that voice. And I was thinking of Anthony. I'm not sure how to say name right.
Anoni.
What's that?
Anoni.
Anoni.
Formerly Anthony. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of as a comparison there that this song was not my jam. I would say that, but a fascinating performance, and I did find what is it? There was another band that was very what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember if I remember.
I think it was Sweden, but I got a real kick out of them. They're like three nerdy looking guys, and they're almost kind of rapping. That was fun.
It had accordion in it.
Yes.
I mean,
the accordion sounded kind of Middle Eastern.
Yeah, it's something else. So that one, I need my notes back out, but Badu Badu Bastu is about taking sauna. It's just these three guys wearing suits doing this adorable little dance, and it was the fan favorite.
That makes
sense. You were both talking at the same time.
I'm sorry.
My younger son, Isaac, he's 10. I was watching the video and he was singing along with it.
You like that one too? Yeah.
It like grabbed him right away.
Nice.
I love that.
So I got to ask, because I didn't know what your motivation was, but you told us. But without knowing what your motivation was, my immediate thought was, of course, this is Amy's jam. There's so much EDM happening here.
Yeah. Yeah, the dance music's definitely part of what I enjoy from it, for sure. Even like Germany's entry or Iceland's, where they're not great songs, but they're just fun dance songs, and I can get down with that.
And they all have talent, but like some songs are better than others. Some of those performers just had charisma dripping off of them. Mm-hmm. I really was taken by the guy from the Netherlands because at the end his voice kind of cracked, almost like he was in tears.
Yeah, that was a beautiful performance. Yeah. That was C'est la vie, right? Yeah, that was my favorite ballad. Because in the finals, the videography for that one was fully close up the whole time. So one of the cool things about the finals is that it's super choreographed. That's one thing I love about it. Like every performance down to like making eyes with certain cameras is like planned. Right. So the one in the Netherlands, instead of doing a big dance number or cool graphics on the screens that are both in the back and in the floor, that one, it was all close up. Yeah.
I have to wonder how much of the production was the artist's vision or the producers of the show's vision. And I thought about, okay, what was this like back in the 70s? I would imagine in my brain back in the 70s, it was like a variety show. And you just had the bands and the artists playing, and it was pretty low tech. And there wasn't a lot. Now it's like, you have all this production value, and it's like, okay, how much of that is taking away from it and how much of it is enhancing it?
Yeah. I think it's enhancing. It kind of speaks to how a good performance is a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Where it's not just the singer that's being rewarded. And that's kind of the cool thing of Eurovision. We're not there seeing, America's next top singer. It's like, this is the representation of Austria. And not only is it the singer, but it's their whole team.
And I agree with you, because the really great performers are going to work with the production, and just, I think the ones that maybe aren't as good are the ones who are really more about, just the live performance. They don't care about the production, but the ones who are just really, like, again, going back to the performer from Malta, I'm like, this is a person who just, it sounds cheesy, but she makes love to the camera.
Mm-hmm. It's just a fun performance.
It's interesting. I was talking about Eurovision with Joanne, my wife, my spouse, my partner, and she was more interested in this than other topics I've brought up that we're discussing. Interestingly, but she said it's not really a song contest; it's a performance contest.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the whole deal, which is it's sort of a different sensibility, than I'm used to, which is just like go out there and turn up your amps, rock out.
Yeah.
Just, it doesn't matter how you look,
We have at the university a couple of different contests that the fraternities and the sororities get involved in. They have a dance competition in the spring. And when I was still doing the learning villages, I went to their air band competition, and it was the fraternities and sororities and the learning villages. And of course, the fraternities and the sororities are a lot more focused, a lot more dialed in. I think they don't have some of the budgetary constraints that we probably had, so they could have afforded to, invest more in costumes and stuff like this. And so, my learning village, I had a hard time recruiting students to be in the air band, so they let me be in the air band. And so I was in the air band. I think we did Come Together by the Beatles, and I sang lead, and I wore.
Wait, what is air band?
An air band is where people play
air guitars.
Yeah,
okay.
They it's not just lip syncing. It's like literally they.
Okay.
So you play on preferably a really, really good sound system, a popular song that everybody knows, and then an air band acts out that song. Like,
okay, that's what I figured.
In every regard. So like I was singing lead vocals on, and I don't know who sings it. Is it John or
it's John?
John. I was singing John Lennon's lead on Come Together, right? So and somebody was acting out the lead guitar, somebody was acting out the drums, and there was like heavy metal, there was heavy metal, and it's all very corny. It's super corny, but that's to me like, and I like things that are corny, but this was way cornier than I'm used to. Like
out of your comfort zone.
I'm still out of my and just like the choreography and the pageantry. It's got a little bit of a Vegas thing to it. We did go to the Beatles Vegas show. This is probably the closest thing I've ever seen to anything like Eurovision was when we went to see the Beatles show in Vegas. I mean, it's such a spectacle. I think it would have been fun to see it in person. But yeah, I'm having a hard time. Like, so when I go to my counselor, he always reminds me of what ADHD. Y'all know I have ADHD, but I didn't find out till I was really old that I had it. And so sometimes he'll like remind me that certain things that I do are significant, to that. And I think if I was in the right zone, I would get so obsessed with this, but I had the opposite. It didn't hold my attention. Like when I tried to look at it, I got frustrated with it because it was so outside of my normal musical language. But I didn't know what I was looking at. Like, I'm like, what am I even experiencing here?
Like Premier League soccer, Premier League football.
And I feel exact. And I think that's cool. Like, I think it's cool that people get,
right.
And I think it is more cosmopolitan,
Yeah.
to do like, so this is our first sort of international episode, and I think it's extremely, I mean, Joe did Combat Rock, we did the Water Boys, so we've done, but I didn't realize how parochially, I'm kind of like I'm not America first in the way that they say it out in the media today. I'm against that, but I'm kind of America first when it comes to my music. I guess I'm very much into the blues and gospel and folk and rock that comes out of the American experience. And I didn't realize the extent to which I am kind of biased that way. I don't think I always was like that, but today I'm pretty biased to American music, and I'm pretty conservative in my tastes in a way. Like when things sonically sound different than what I'm used to, my whole experience of the listening experience is disjointed.
Yeah. That's cool. Thank you for sharing and giving it a go. And maybe there will be another day you'll find some Eurovision songs that you really latch onto. And I'm excited and so here for that.
I'm just surprised they're still having airband competitions in this day and age.
I did love the astronaut song that was Ireland's song, but then I found out
they got cut before the final. But yeah, the Lakita party.
Yeah, I did look that one up, but apparently it didn't get. It wasn't by somebody from Ireland either. It was somebody else and somewhere else in Europe wrote the song. But like a whole song about the space dog was pretty cool.
I like that. I think Go ahead.
There was, I forget who it was, but there was some dude, I forget what country, but he had a total Ziggy Stardust vibe.
Ooh.
I know the one you're talking about. There was a video there, and it had the singer, two male I don't know what they were doing actually, and then two women dancing in the background.
Cool. Was it one on my playlist?
Yeah, no, it's one of the songs. It was. I don't know if I saw that, so it must have been on YouTube on your list. I can't remember.
But man, it was fun. Like I said, I wouldn't have gone there if you hadn't made it the homework. So thank you for that.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm thankful for any shove outside of my comfort zone.
And I will say this, getting back to soccer, I am not a sports fan by any stretch of the imagination, but Charlotte FC is huge here. And I have a friend with season tickets, and I've been lucky enough to go twice because he claims that every time he takes me, they win, which okay. But again, I don't like sports, but going to these games is pretty riveting.
Yeah. Nashville has a team. I've started going because I live super close to the stadium, and I'm not a sports guy either, but soccer's fun. And again, it's like what Andrew was saying about I get the appeal. It's not for me. I see it, and as I'm immersing myself in it, I'm getting it.
Also, I love Ted.
I am trying to be respectfully curious and also brutally honest at my sonic alienation. Yep. But yeah, I love that you go to the soccer stadium too. Also, by the way, I mean, European football was around before American football. I mean, and America was colonized by a bunch of Europeans. So
it's actually pronounced football.
Right. So this is some of these distinctions I'm making are pretty not completely historically sound anyway. Yeah. As a person whose ancestors came from Europe. So just saying. So.
All right. Well, I think that's about at the end of our discussion about Eurovision. I think we've said all there is to say. Thank you guys for making time to listen to these silly songs with me. I felt like it would be a fun diversion from all the various things we've been getting into this year. So thank you for helping me.
I'm just sorry that you had technical glitches that kept you from hearing us babbling.
Don't worry, I'll go back and listen.
Something I really want to say that I love, Amy, is that now that we've moved to this director's choice format, there is no limit to what we can do. Yeah. And I feel, again, being the old fuddy-duddy, I'm the only of the people that have gone so far. I'm the only person who really kind of stuck to the old format and just did a different topic, because Scott's format was completely wild. Rick's format was pretty wild, and this is so just because of the subject matter, maybe not the discussion format, but the subject matter so far afield from what we've done in the past. So I feel a little.
Joe's episode's gonna make us shit our pants. I can.
We're
tell
talking about Canada still, right?
No, I've moved on from that. I exhausted my Canada vibe and
Teacher on the Radio.
I really wanted to hear the Canada episode.
Well, I guess that's the Teacher on the Radio episode for now. Is where I stand in. We're doing Scott. That guy Scott.
I'm just going back and forth between like an appreciation of Scott Miller and just sort of a goofball episode about cover songs.
Yeah.
Songs we hate, songs, I just been thinking I had a episode anyway. We can talk about that by
It is next month though, so we will.
I'll just
there are two Scott.
We can talk about it offline later.
There are two Scott Millers musically speaking. There's the guy from Game Theory and the Loud Family, and then there's the guy who's like a roots rock dude. He was in a band called the V-Roys,
right?
He did some solo records, and so
there's going to be a disambiguation if we go with Scott.
There's going to be like a multiverse, if you will.
Okay.
They're not the same. I think they spent their careers saying, I'm not that other guy though.
I think I need to mute myself more.
So what you guys been listening to aside from the Eurovision songs I've forced you to listen to this month? What's new?
You go first, Scott.
We voluntarily cooperated with your topic. You didn't make us do it.
No, it was fun as fuck, if I can say that. So before I get to what I've been listening to, I want to talk about this book, Finding Your Walden. My good friend, and she is the back page columnist of Charlotte Magazine. My good friend Jen Toda McGivney, who I used to work with. She wrote this awesome book that was inspired by Henry David Thoreau and Walden, and it's called Finding Your Walden. And she actually interviewed me for this book, and I actually take up 2 pages of space for this.
Ooh.
That's not the reason you should buy it. You should buy it because it's a really good book that will, again, take you out of your comfort zone and make you question, what you're doing and what you're making your priorities. There's Jen's picture right there. You can't really see it. But what I've been listening to, album-wise, not a ton. I'm a huge fan of Esther Rose, singer-songwriter, originally from Michigan, now based out of New Orleans. Her new one's called Want, and I'm digging it. I just listened to this for the first time yesterday, the new one from Tune Yards. Meryl Garbus. She's a fucking badass. And just... Yeah.
That was going to be one of my call outs. I love her so much.
And I only had one chance to listen to this, but I'm digging Julian and Torres. But I really am excited about some singles this month. Like, first and foremost, yes, I'm excited about tracks 2, the Lost Albums from Bruce Springsteen. Been having fun with the pre-release tracks. I think Repo Man might be my favorite of the 4 that have dropped so far. But I'm really excited about a couple of singles. First and foremost, an act out of the UK called So Good. They describe themselves as brat pop punk. A song called I Rewrote the Fucking Bible. I've been seeing footage of the performances of this for a good couple of years on TikTok. The single just finally came out. It is so badass. It is so joyous. It's so fun. And then the other thing I'm digging, the Feelies have a new covers record coming out. They cover Patti Smith's Dancing Barefoot. They destroy it. And then
Barstool Blues.
Joe and I have been nerding out over this next one. J. Isaiah Evans and the Boss Tweeds. They're from Dallas, Fort Worth. J. Isaiah Evans is also in a band called the 40 Acre Mule, which is really good. But J. Isaiah Evans and the Boss Tweed, they only have got 4 singles, but their new one is a cover of Tom Waits' Way Down in the Hole. And if you're a fan of The Wire, if you know, you know, you can never have too many good covers of Way Down in the Hole. I'm especially excited about this next one. Vandaliers, also from Dallas, Fort Worth. I saw them on a double bill a couple of years ago with Mike and the Moon Pies. Badass cowpunk roots rock band. New single, Life Behind Bars, title track of the forthcoming record. I'm going, this is a great song because it's kind of like old 97s-esque. And it's like Life Behind Bars. Oh, that's clever. You know, there's a drinking thing. And then I read the article about how their front person just came out as a trans woman. Hence the deeper version, the deeper meaning behind Life Behind Bars. I can't wait to hear the rest of the record. Vandaliers, if you get a chance to see them, you will not be disappointed. And then finally, there's something in the water in New Zealand. Just the guitar-based bands, they're magical. And I defy any scientist to prove me wrong. And the latest entry in that era, in the area, is the Beths. The new single's called Metal, and it's New Zealand jangle pop the way New Zealand jangle pop should be. I cede my time.
Who's next? Did we have an order? I foisted that on.
It's you now.
Me? All right. Another side conversation that Greenberg and I had was about Ethio jazz, specifically Mulatu of Ethiopia. We were trading songs back and forth among that vein, and then I pursued it more. I mean, it's just it's just such a nice little corner of the music world. It's fascinating and romantic. Something I've learned about the music scenes in Africa is that they grew out of the hotel bar scene. Like the bands were known for the hotels they played at. Well, one example is a band I love called the Super Rail Band out of Bamako, Mali. Highly recommend. Just the album Mansa is a great place to start. MANSA, but they were named for the hotel they played at. That they were like the house band. And one thing so getting back to Mulatu, listening to a lot of Mulatu, I think you were the first one, Amy. I'm pointing at you on my little. You were the first one to mention them, and then I sort of slid into that. But my local indie record stores post their new arrivals and restocks, and they had Mulatu of Ethiopia, and I on Facebook, and I commented, "I'm coming for you." And I finally got in there, and they said, "Oh, somebody just bought it. Somebody just bought it." But I was really happy about that. Somebody else in this area wanted to get Mulatu of Ethiopia.
You know, the first time I heard Mulatu's music was in this awesome Jim Jarmusch film called Broken Flowers. The whole soundtrack is great, but it's like the song just kind of figures in throughout the movie. And I can't think of that song without thinking about Jeffrey Wright. And when you see the movie, you'll know why.
It's one I've missed. I've sort of fallen out with Jarmusch. But I ended up, they didn't have it, but I found another record from their Ethio. You can't see this here. Their Ethio from, there's a label called Awesome Tapes from Africa, which is re-releasing 70s era Ethio jazz, I guess. And the other record that they had was, what's the guy's name? It's Halu Murgia and the Dalek Band. He was a very popular keyboard player, I believe, and he had recorded some successful stuff with another band on the hotel scene, and then he joined up with the Dalek Band for this record. It's what they had in stock, and it was like, I'm leaving this place with something from Ethiopia, or I'm going to die doing it.
What about?
It's cool, but the sound quality is crap. So, it's just recorded in the hotel.
I got to ask you, are you familiar with Jackie Matu?
Yeah, mostly through the song there, but
no. But have you heard any of his music?
No, but I should.
Oh, it's so good.
I shall.
Yeah.
Um, Grant Lee Phillips has a new single that just dropped today that I found great. Um, I always circle back around to Grant Lee Buffalo, especially the first two records. And I've been listening to Fuzzy a lot, which is amazing. Back in 2010, they announced that they were going to play a couple shows in the Bowery in New York, and they just fell through. And you ever have a band that you just wish you'd seen? That's like one of two or three. Like, I've seen most of them. I've been really lucky. Grant Lee Buffalo, but he's got a new single. I thought Record Store Day was kind of disappointing, and I found a lot of backlash. Sort of, well, my local store was like, yeah, we didn't participate. It's just sucks a lot of money out of the business, and that was after I'd read another sort of they weren't being anti, it was just an economic decision in hard times, but there was some backlash out there just based on what it started as and what it's become, which is fine with me. And I like the spectacle and all the crap that comes out there. But I picked up this Tim. I picked up Tim was reissued to much less fanfare than Pleased to Meet Me. I found that interesting because I think they're pretty much equals in a lot of ways.
I will say Pleased to Meet Me is my favorite Matt's record, but as far as the remasters, Tim and Don't Tell a Soul are like revelations.
They're not that far apart as far as like records, though. One's I agree that that Pleased to Meet Me is better, but it's not like a huge leap. Like they're just, it's a good run for a band,
Oh yeah, but no, what I'm saying is, I'm like, Pleased to Meet Me, absolutely favorite Matt's record, and I think that's kind of controversial. But just the remix, when they remixed Don't Tell a Soul, it was like taking a record I liked just fine and turning it into a record I loved. And then with Tim's, like, it took a record I already loved and really made it better.
Mm-hmm. We love you, Ed Stasium.
Yes, we do.
The other Ed Stasium, I have one more that I want to talk about if I have it in this stack. The new, where the hell did that go? The new -5 arrived today. Just such a wonderful slab. The word delight comes to mind. Like just pure pop goodness, every song is great. Just pop melodies, harmonies, jangly guitars. Like it scratches a big old itch that I just can't scratch. So, and it's been a while, and McConaughey had a stroke, right?
I didn't know that.
Who had a stroke? I think he had a stroke, and he was sort of out of commission for a while. Anyway, Peter Buck's on it, of course. Linda Pittman, Patterson Hood sings on a few songs. Ooh. It's just like all the folks I love. So, just a happy pill.
It is a happy pill.
Yeah.
I'll use the -5 as my segue to hop in here. So Casey Neal, a dear friend of mine from 90s folk, I think he kind of invented folk punk. Casey Neal is in the -5. He's just one of their on-stage musicians. But Casey Neal came to Cookeville. He came to Nashville. He played at the Basement. He came to Cookeville, played at the Wesley Arena. And the show at the Wesley was opening up for Honeybrook, which is a dear friend of mine and a colleague, Hayden Manningly. And they just dropped a new album. And the band is called Honeybrook, but the albums are released under his name. They're more solo albums. And in preparation for that, I got to write liner notes. I think for the first time, I've been commissioned to write liner notes. And they invited me up to the studio where they recorded it. The name of the album is From Dreams We Emerge. That's written up along with a bunch of other stuff in the new edition of Everything's Folk, which is where I take a lot of the writing I do online and put it into a paper fanzine format to take to like fanzine conventions like the one I went to last week, and to record stores like Grimey's, and also bookstores like Downtown Books and News in Asheville, North Carolina. We don't talk about our side projects enough on here. Scott Greenberg is the host of the Debts No Honest Man Can Pay podcast / radio show. And I have not listened in a really long time. And I listened to his most recent episode while driving home from Athens, Georgia to see Murray Attaway. And I must say, Scott with you and Joe and I, and Amy, you're part of this now too, but like a lot of my favorite music that I've ever listened to is music that Joe and Scott have told me about. And like Scott and I was talked about like how much music Joe turned us on to back in the day. Well, Scott told me that Marie Attaway had a new album. I had no idea on last month's podcast. I went and listened to like so much Guadalcanal Diary in the last month. I mean, I basically listened to all the 4 Guadalcanal Diary albums. I listened to Murray's first solo album called Enthralled that I didn't even know had existed, that came out in the early 90s. And because Scott subscribes to a radio DJ repository of new releases that artists can, choose to put up on this one website, Scott said, "Hey, look, this is a advanced listening copy, which I've occasionally been able to get from other artists as well." So I listened to the album. I drove right after the Zine Festival, after working in basically a 7-hour shift at the Zine Festival, driving 2 hours from Cookville, getting up at like 6 a.m. I drove to Athens, Georgia. Saturday night, I saw Murray Attaway and Friends live. He played with the full band that he assembled just for the occasion. Rhett Crow, his former Guadalcanal Diary cohort, gets on stage to sing Kumbaya. I didn't know they were going to do Kumbaya. And I don't understand like how I could express this well enough, but I'm obsessed with that song. And I became more obsessed with that song when everybody started using Kumbaya as like a cuss word to insult people who want to love each other. That's just so Kumbaya. What are we going to do? Just hold hands and love each other? Well, that'll never work. We tried it in the 60s and love just is a failed option. So you and your Kumbaya. Anyway, so they do this punk rock they do this Southern jangle punk rock version of Kumbaya that is everything. It is like one, and Joe and I saw it in a sweaty packed bar in Ann Arbor back in the 80s. And I didn't think I just assumed they would never do it. So I didn't even put it on my wish list. I saw Watusi Rodeo. I saw Litany, Life Goes On. I saw Vista. I saw all these Guadalcanal Diary hits.
In the middle of Kumbaya, though. In the middle of Kumbaya.
They played a Pink Floyd snippet. Yep. The video's on my Facebook. Anyway, I'm just so over the moon about getting to see Murray Attaway. I got to see Pearl Jam not once, but twice. Amy Rock was at that show. I went on a whole deep dive on Pearl Jam because I didn't think I'd really ever quite understood Pearl Jam. So I listened to an audiobook of a Pearl Jam biography. I didn't quite finish. It was like 20 hours long. I didn't quite finish the biography, but I got pretty far into it. I listened to way more Pearl Jam than I have in years. The shows were amazing. I met lots of other really, really nice people. I got all their cool show specific merch. I just did all the things with Pearl Jam. I know last month I was obsessed about Fust. I'm still obsessed about Fust, but coming out on this Friday is a new album by Florry, Florry, which is kind of a fellow traveler of Fust. There's a new band that I've just discovered called Tobacco City. They're out of Chicago, and they sound like Graham Parsons and the Flying Burrito Brothers. There's a group out of England that's an Americana band, and I swear to God, I think they're from England. I hope I'm saying this right, but you would never believe they're from England. They're called Brown Horse. What a great name for a band, Brown Horse. And their album cover is a quilt. I mean, they're so Americana derivative, being from Europe, but that's fine. That's fine. Also, punk, political, kind of cookie cutter political punk in the way that I used to love. But I'm friends with this singer Dave Dichter. I used to run with them. They're called MDC. I had no idea MDC was releasing a new album that came out just on Friday. Joe, and all the REM adjacent bands that were popular back then, I missed probably half of them. You mentioned Grant Lee Buffalo. That was sort of REM adjacent. Did you ever hear of Miracle Legion out of the Northeast? Yeah. I just discovered them. Okay, now here's something. This has got a little bit of Afrobeat in it, but I think they're also from Europe. They're called Sacred Paws, Paws, like an animal's paws. They have a new album called Jump for Life that is just absolutely incredible. I drove to Cleveland. I could not make the Cavaliers win, but I drove to Cleveland and I saw MJ Lenderman, and I had a fucking amazing time. And I'm trying to wrap my head around MJ Lenderman. I saw Wilco and Waxahachie, which was absolutely fucking incredible. I saw Lord Huron at the High Water, and Lord Huron is. Why are you laughing, Scott?
No, I love Lord Huron. I saw them once in Charlotte. They've never played here like since. What? Okay, I take that back. They played once here since, but it was like in the big arena opening for Casey Musgraves. I would love to see Lord Huron.
Well, they're coming back this summer, so let's look up the dates.
Yes.
Maybe you want to come see them in Nashville. But anyway, I was taking. You guys know Blake. Well, no, Amy knows Blake. I told Blake when I was going to High Water that I was going to see Lord Huron and Mount Joy. Both bands were on bucket list for me. I've seen Lord Huron before, but it's been a long time. But I've seen Mount Joy. Like I've caught the last couple songs at a festival. I missed most of the set on accident. I had intended to see them. Well, anyway, Blake went like this. He yawned and he said, "Are you going to nap through all of that or just part of that?" But Lord Blake is in a punk band. His music is not nappable if you've tried.
Nappable.
Anyway, but I thought Lord Huron's performance was one of the best I've seen. It was
good.
so freaking incredible.
Did
so
you
I'm
know
so
they're
excited
from East Lansing?
Yeah, they're from Michigan.
They're from East Lansing.
That's fucking amazing.
I know.
Let me see. Wait, hold on a second. I'm going to get through my list here. And trying to find other bands that were like psychedelic, indie with country infusion. I discovered a band called Color Green. I need to learn more about them. Also, we've been listening to The Alarm a lot because Mike Peters died. Another great episode of Scott's radio show. There's a new Garrett T. Capps. He made my top 10 last year. And I'm very excited about Garrett T. Capps. That's enough for now. I've been having a great time getting into new music. But I looked up since the last podcast, a lot of my most listened to artists were Guadalcanal Diary and Pearl Jam. So those are both oldies. But most happy brand new discovery probably is Tobacco City and Brown Horse. And they're completely new to me. So, and also have brand new albums out. We can go over time, Amy, because you haven't had turn yet.
No worries. No, thank you. That was an awesome list. All you guys, I can't wait to check out the stuff you've been listening to. I love doing this with y'all because it's always such a crazy, diverse.
One more thing, really, really fast. I just wanted to notice something. They both did a better job getting into Eurovision than I did. I also wanted to note that Scott, Joe, and our sibling Rick, who couldn't make it tonight, they all are really interested, and Gus too, are all into the physical product. And I do still collect records, but I am so addicted to this as my thing. And I wanted to tell you guys, after hearing about it on the chat and being really on the fence about it, I have switched from Spotify to Apple for listening because the Apple, it is a better quality. I finally started to notice that the files are a better quality. And also that all day Spotify outage really messed with me. I'm like, if you're Spotify, you can't go offline. That's not allowed. Okay. Like I'm addicted. Okay. And then because of Last FM subscription scrobbling, I've become addicted to studying my scrobbling statistics, and I can't scrobble my turntable. So anyway, I am so tethered.
I wouldn't know how to scrobble if my life depended on it.
I'm so tethered to. I like having records around the house to look at, but I'm listening on my phone. I
don't know about the sound quality, but I think just Apple Music is just a better user experience than Spotify. There's so many times where I try to find something on Spotify, and it's like with Apple, it's like you can look at the album and go, "Oh, there's the song I want." With Spotify, you can't do that. You got to search for the specific song, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. Let's see.
I haven't. I'm so sorry, Amy. I have not learned the platform yet. I still know my way around Spotify easier as far as finding stuff because I haven't learned how to use Apple yet, and I have gotten really frustrated with the phone app not being able to figure out which way to toggle or swipe. But the sound quality, I'm convinced is actually better.
I'll walk you through it. It's so intuitive to me. I'll be your Sherpa.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm still on Spotify. I hate that like all my playlists are there. I know there's like apps and stuff to help transfer stuff off, but I'm locked in there for now. What I do want to do sometime is maybe spend a month listening to exclusively stuff through Bandcamp and like invest in buying a bunch of albums from people I know and just make that my listening adventure. So stay tuned for that. That might be a month later this year, and I'll share that adventure with y'all. What I've been listening to, the new albums that are on my list right now is the Tune Yards that Scott just mentioned and the new album from Viagra Boys. I didn't really get their first album when they were taken off and people were starting to pay attention. But I gave this new album by Viagra Boys. The title is just their name stylized different. I don't know. But it's humorous. It's kind of wry comedy and just like topical modern things that they're talking about. It's different. It's a little punk rock, a little weirdo indie. So I've been enjoying that. My musical accomplishment this month has been going to 5 rock shows in 1 week. It was awesome. So Andrew already mentioned the Pearl Jam show. I only went to one of their 2 stops, but it was spectacular. They're my all-time favorite band, so getting to see them was transcendent. And then I was at both nights of Metallica, which was not my plan, but the second night, my friend texted me that morning and informed me that I was joining them. So I got to see Limp Bizkit with my friends, and that was a thing I did.
Hey, you did it for the Nookie?
I did. No, but he's such a weird performer. Just, he's so uncool. Just, what a dork. I don't get I don't know this guy. What a show. But Metallica was awesome. They're like the greatest performers.
Were there 2 shows different?
Yeah, totally different set lists. So that was super cool. The first night had a bunch from Master of Puppets. The second night had songs from Ride the Lightning. Ooh. And that was kind of cool because we actually had to shelter from actual lightning for 30 minutes before they went on. So
no one wants to actually ride the lightning.
No, nobody does. So who opened the first night?
Pantera.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah. And I didn't get to see them, but Suicidal Tendencies was the first opener the first night.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been cool. But Pantera was cool, not original lineup, but they still sounded great. And now I can say I've seen them. And the second night, the first opener was Ice Nine Kill, which is like a very specific metal band. It's metalcore, totally not the sound that I'm into. They have horror stage show stuff where they're like pretending to be axe murderers, but they all have expensive haircuts where they look like pretty boys. It's like so bad and weird. It was so bad and weird to see it like on this giant stadium stage.
So it was like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, but metal.
Yeah, okay. That energy. Yeah. But those shows were great. I also saw Fontaine's DC, which ruled. And while I was texting with a friend about the first Metallica show, he's like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm stoked about seeing Devin Townsend tonight. I'm like, who? And he's like, only my favorite guitarist playing metal music. He was in the band Strapping Young Lad. That was had a career. It's guitar guy metal, and it's cool and fun. He's like, I could listen to the whole discography and not get it the way I now get it seeing him, because he's a performer. He does just all this like facial acting and just singing. His range is so broad and strong, and like I get it, and I get why he's my friend Ryan's all-time favorite, and it was just a fun performance to be at.
Well, you bring up a good point. Guitar face is a whole other skill set.
Yes. No, but Devin is just a performer. He was just being a goofball on stage and just being a real showman, being a little operatic at times, just very strong voice. Would recommend checking out Devin Townsend. It's not just like hard rock, melt your face metal. He gets into some more like prog rocky kind of stuff in some of his other projects. So that's been my deep dive lately, is just discovering this guy's career, because I didn't really know his deal until now.
Speaking of, I'm jealous of Amy because she always has friends who are like, we're going to this show.
Speaking of metal, our friend Scott Winchell just posted a review on his Substack of Ghost. Have y'all heard of this Ghost?
They're cool.
And they're very cool. And then I also found out, listening to Stephen Hayden and Ian Cohen on IndieCast, about Sleep Token. They're anonymous. They wear costumes only.
I saw their name like earlier today. I know nothing about them.
They had a song that made it to my playlist last year, but I just like the one song. But they're kind of similar to Ghost, where it's this operatic, performative metal.
Right. So I listened to one song, and it had like 10 genres in one song, and it changed.
Yeah.
It kept changing from genre
Yeah.
in like one 5-minute song.
Yeah. And Ghost is like the camp theater kid Eurovision of metal music. It's like such a show. Actually, one of my friends that was at Devin Townsend, she's in her Ghost phase, and like that overlap kind of is there.
So I think Sleep Token would be very adjacent to Ghost, and apparently it got savaged by Pitchfork, and people are like, they're really upset about it. And somebody said it's the Disneyfication of metal. Like, and I've no, this is something like the thing in folk music and like country adjacent non-mainstream folk music that's happening. Like I'm really overly invested in that right now. Like I'm not invested in the metal wars. Like, okay, let me just put it, but I'm finding it fascinating how many like niches within niches that there are.
Oh yeah.
Within current metal. Like that's crazy.
And how many genres end in the word core?
Right.
Too many. Yeah. And I feel like part of metal culture is a certain amount of gatekeeping, not in like a negative way, but like that's just one of their cultural values is going, this is us, that is them, you belong, this doesn't belong. And, you know, that's off-putting for a lot of people, but that's just part of like what makes metal.
Right. Which reminds me, we got a new Spinal Tap movie coming this fall.
That's going to be rad.
Yes. Joe and I saw the first one at the movie theater together.
He's on mute again. Love you, Joe.
Were you Joe? You're still muted. You want to say something?
Joe, you're still muted. I think Joe's waving the white flag.
I think I'm done.
Okay. It is an hour. We're over an hour. So we are the Music Nerds Record Club. We meet every month on a Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central in the lighter half of the year. And in the darker half of the year, we meet at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central when there's only so little daylight. But once the time change happens, we're at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. We'll be back sometime in June. We're going to stay on the line right now and set the date for the June cast. And I think Gus will be back in the States. Maybe he'll make it back to the cast. We are the Music Nerds Record Club. We love you. Thanks for tuning in, whether you watched it on YouTube or Facebook Live, or if you only watched part of it or all of it. Thanks so much.
We'll see y'all. Thank you.
Storming the castle.